Gold is we have a pretty good handle on. It's been around a long time, and people know what gold is and how it behaves. And we have time series of prices and comparisons and cost structures. There's just a lot of information about gold. Bitcoin is a new technology, and just to sort of put that in context, there's an old saying: we don't know who discovered water, but we're pretty sure it was not the fish. Meaning, the fish doesn't know about water. The fish is in the water and surrounded by water, but doesn't know the water exists until you take it out of the water. And Bitcoin is a new technology. Most people are looking in the wrong direction when it comes to Bitcoin. They're looking at the price and the use case, and I don't think there is much of a use case, and blockchain and the tech, various aspects of it. But that's what I call content. And Bitcoin is a new environment. It surrounds us. It's like the water that the fish is in. And what we don't know, what's not well understood, is how is it affecting all of us? I think the best way of understanding it is that it's hallucinogenic. And what I mean by that is we all see what we want to see, and no two of us see it exactly alike. In other words, we have to fill in the blanks. You can't get a straight answer. Well, what is Bitcoin? Well, people can give you a technical explanation, but we actually don't understand it because we never understand new technologies. Until something else comes along, and then we look back, we look in the rearview mirror and go, oh, look at that, look what that did. We actually don't know what Bitcoin is doing to us right now. I have some ideas.
What's the greatest ammunition you think Frank should be going in with here?
Well, I think, and again, going back to your earlier point, Danielle, I'm a gold analyst. I've written a book on gold. I invest in gold. I recommend it, etc. So I guess kind of I'm on that side, but I don't diminish the importance of Bitcoin. I don't think of it as an investment. I think of it as an environment and a technology. So I think both sides have some openings, but I think both sides have some vulnerabilities. I think on Frank's side, his often your greatest strength is also your weakness. So on Frank's side, you can just say declaratively and correctly, gold has been a reliable store of value and a widely accepted form of money for 3,000 years. That's just a true statement. The problem is the horse was a major mode of transportation for 3,000 years, and we don't ride horses anymore, except maybe in a horse show. And so the burden on Frank is to say, well, yeah, it's been gold has been money good all this time, store value, etc. Got it. But it's a new world, new technologies, and we're moving on, and we're going to leave gold in the rearview mirror, as I said, like a horse and buggy. So Frank has to answer that. But over to Michael's side, there's not a lot to say for Bitcoin except it goes up. Well, so okay, you bought it at 20,000, it went to 40, then it went to 50, then it went to 60, and I get emails from I have correspondents all over the world, and people go, Jim, I've been doing this, doing that, but I bought some Bitcoin, man, I just made $50,000, and that's not a stretch. I mean, I know people have made tens of millions in Bitcoin, and Michael has made billions. So it does go up, no doubt about it, and it could go up higher. I'm not going to say I think it could go to I think it could go down 90% in a matter of weeks, but I also think it could double in a matter of weeks. I'm not going to say which way it could go. It could go either way. But the problem for Michael, there are a couple other questions. Number one, is there a use case? I don't think there is, and I think Michael has a tendency just to bang the drum. Bitcoin. Well, okay, got it. It's going up. You made money. Nice job. But I haven't heard anyone articulate a use case other than the price goes up. Well, that sounds bubblicious. It sounds like every bubble in the history of the world. You have to do a little bit better than that. Two, I think Michael has got to answer some serious questions about price manipulation. If I sell some Bitcoin to you for $60,000 and you sell it back to me for 65, and I sell it back to you for 70, we can just sell the same Bitcoin back and forth, as many times as we want, raise the price, do it on an exchange so people can see. It's called painting the tape. It's the oldest trick on Wall Street. How do we know? It's illegal, by the way, if you're doing stocks, but Bitcoin is unregulated. There's no aware of any illegality if we're painting the tape in Bitcoin. And so the question is, how do we know that that's not going on among miners? And more to the point, there's serious questions about whether Tether is a Ponzi and whether Tether isn't driving Bitcoin. And you say, well, so what, as long as it goes up? Well, the answer is yeah, but that doesn't work in reverse. If Tether goes down because they don't have the cash reserves and they've been completely non-transparent, that's going to take Bitcoin down with it. So there'll come a time when Bitcoin is suddenly obsolete. And what I mean by that is there was a time in the mid-19th century when the telegraph was revolutionary. I mean, it was revolutionary, it changed history, and yet no one uses the telegraph today. We've moved on to the internet and a lot of things in between, TV, radio, and a lot of communication channels in between. So it's not to say that Bitcoin isn't revolutionary technology. It is. It creates an environment. It changes things. It changes things in ways that people don't understand. But but who's to say it won't be left in the rearview mirror when something else comes along?
Really well said, Jim. And how about also the regulation? We've seen what China's done to Bitcoin. Now, if I ask someone like Max Kaiser, he'll say they can't stop it. You can't stop Bitcoin. But how much of a risk is that when we're talking Bitcoin?
It's a big risk, but I think on balance, Max is probably right. It has been banned in China. Tether, which is the feedstock for Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot of data out there about how most Bitcoin are purchased with Tether. So if Tether's a scam, the Bitcoin price is a Ponzi of some sort. So getting back to Tether, Bitfinex, which is their sponsor, it's an exchange where it's traded, recently settled fraud charges with the New York State Attorney General. So as one of the results of that case, this is all publicly available, was that Bitcoin is banned in New York. So what? I mean, so it's illegal to trade Bitcoin in New York, according to the Attorney General. Well, what if you live in New Jersey, or what if you live in the Congo, right? So you can't... you can isolate it in particular countries, but it's in the cloud, it's in the web, it's in the global environment. You can't really squash it. So I think Max is probably right about that. But going back to my point, which I think is a more important one, who's to say it won't be displaced by something like central bank digital currencies? And a central bank doesn't even have to destroy Bitcoin. They just have to come out with a better alternative, and then people will move away. So again, I don't underestimate the importance of Bitcoin. I would make the point that most people, there's almost no one who really understands it, because everyone's focused on price and blockchain, and they're not really thinking about the water, as I put it, the environment that it's creating.
I'm going to ask you this, Jim. I know you're more team gold, but you're saying, look, I also see the benefits and the good side to Bitcoin. If I were to ask you, that one merit that Bitcoin has, which gold doesn't, what would you say it is? I
don't see any merits, but I do see that it's a very powerful environment. Again, I don't underestimate the importance of Bitcoin. I don't think it's going away soon. I'm not going to say the price can't go up. It could. I know people are making money on it every day. And again, Michael is the best example. But if you ask me why, there's no good answer to that. And I sort of don't care, but what I do care about is the impact it's having. And I would say that's mostly invisible, that people really don't understand. But what it's doing, and this goes back to the point about being hallucinogenic, it's actually destroying the idea of money. Now that does not mean that Bitcoin replaces the dollar. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that Bitcoin might destroy linear concepts of what money is and lead to chaos. I mean, a good example would be in 1911, 1912, could be off by a year, but right around that time frame, Marcel Duchamp, a famous French artist, went to a plumbing supply store and he bought a urinal, a man's urinal that kind of sticks up on the wall. And he signed it and put it in an art gallery. And everyone was shocked and appalled. Oh my goodness, you can't do that. You can't put a urinal in an art gallery. And he said, I just did. But what he did, he redefined the meaning of art. He blew up the meaning of art. It was no longer pictures and frames. It was sort of whatever he said it was, or whatever anyone else said it was. And it revolutionized the history of art for the rest of the 20th and into the 21st century. So that's an example of taking something, putting it in a different context and changing the concept of what's there. So blockchain's been around since the 80s. There's nothing new about blockchain, but by putting it in a monetary context, which is what Bitcoin does, it creates a new technology. It also creates a new environment. Bitcoin may fade and may go away, but it will forever change our concept of money. And that can be highly destabilizing.
Just getting back to the point on price, we've heard these conversations, right? Well, Jim, if I had put, more money in Bitcoin since August, I would have made X,
right?
More than, look, I'm losing money on gold.
Right.
So on the topic of price, what is your answer when people are saying, I've parked my money in gold for wealth preservation, but I'm actually losing money right now by today's, well, let's say like if you bought gold back in, last January, right?
Well, that's for people with short attention spans, which is probably 95% of the planet today. Look, if you bought gold in 1971 at $35 an ounce, it's up almost 6,000%. If you bought gold in December 16th, 2015, which was the low and last bear market, it's up 70%. It's up 70% today as we're speaking. Now, I know it's down since last August. I get that. But even at today, even after a drop down because of higher interest rates, because of inflationary expectations, which are likely to be disappointed, and that whole thing will go into reverse. But even all that aside, even at 1750, you're up over 70% in 6 years. So it's doing its job. That hasn't gone up as much as Bitcoin, but you know.
So slow and steady wins the race. Is that?
Well, maybe. Nothing wrong with slow and steady. But you know, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that Bitcoin can't go to $100,000. That's not my forecast, by the way. And I don't own any Bitcoin. People have tried to give me Bitcoin over the years, and I turn them down because I don't want to be in that network. I don't know who's behind it. You know, is it a team from some high tech firm? Is it all going to disappear overnight? Are 51% of the miners going to come up with an entry to the blockchain that says they own it all and make it all disappear?